Sean from Ace Appliance in Toledo, Ohio. Welcome back to another in-home diagnostic video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com. Alright, we're on a Whirlpool duet steam dryer. Complaint is that there's a noise when it tumbles, so we'll turn it on. And we can definitely hear on the right side here, the drum is coming in contact with the side panel. So we're going to go ahead and turn it off, open it up, take a peek inside and go from there. I'm on my step stool. I need to get to some screws at the very back of this top panel in order to remove it, to be able to see inside and proceed from there. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those screws. Alright, got my other screw out, so now we can go ahead and slide our panel back. Alright, so we have our panel off. I think it's very sharp. Alright, now everything is still plugged in. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. Alright, by looking at the drum, I can see that the drum actually is not, we'll say circular, it's more egg-shaped. There's a bow in one point of it. So we're going to end up having to replace that drum. Luckily, we've already pre-ordered it, so we have that. So we're going to go ahead and turn the unit off, start to disassemble the unit. Because I can't reach the power source, I'm going to go ask the customer where the breaker is to remove power from the unit that way. First thing we'll start with is take out these two Phillips screws here. Close the door back up. Now we're going to go up to the top. We're going to remove the console, some of the other electronics. Okay, so we're going to go up here and start removing some of the screws up here for our electronics. Gently then pry up to remove it. We have our harness that plugs in. Just plug it in. Alright, so now we have our console loose. Now to get this front panel off, we have some screws here at the top that I'm going to do last because I like the unit to hang from these screws to help me with removal. I'm going to start with the screws at the base of the machine before I worry about that. Alright, so I'm going to remove the screws from our front panel here. Alright, those are on. We can go ahead and now we can hit the ones up top. There's also a little strain relief that's right here. I'm just going to push it together and push it down inside the front panel. That helps with removal. So we're going to remove our 3 screws here. While doing so, it has little tabs to hold it, but we're just going to push on it just to make sure it doesn't accidentally fall off. So we'll start with the 2 end screws, and then our final. Now, in theory, everything should come apart. We're just going to be careful. Look for wiring, because some of it may still be connected to some components. So I'm just going to go ahead and lift up and off and slowly move this back because I do have some wiring in here for our light. It doesn't look like it wants to come apart there. I'm going to put this back on, take a peek from the top and see how the wiring is connected if there's a harness that I missed. Alright, there's a harness up here for our light switch that we'll have to disconnect. So I'm going to try my best to get into here. Alright, so that's disconnected. Now we can remove our front panel. So I'm going to grab my front panel now. lift up, out, and gently remove our wires, just like that. All right, we're gonna have to remove this piece here in order to get our drum out. So there's a couple of screws at the top. Now we should be able to grab this panel, lift it up, and then off. Alright, we have to disconnect this strain relief that's holding these wires in. There's one at the top and one at the bottom of the panel. So I'm going to see if we can get lucky with just using my hand. Yep, alright, I got that one out. I'm going to move down now and do the lower one. Alright, so I'm going to reach up inside and do the same thing to my lower strain relief. Alright, we got lucky. We have the harness here. Disconnect that. So now all of our wiring is loose, so we can remove our panel. Now this panel here is held in place with 5 screws, which we'll remove next. So we're going to just remove. Alright, so we got the 4 removed on the upper part of that console. There's one down here at the bottom that just holds a clip that ties it into our bolt housing. We got that, and the clip will actually come out too. So we'll just set that to the side here. So now, in theory, everything should be loose on this panel, where we should be able to pull it out. There's little tabs here where it's hanging. We have to be careful of the wires, and we can get it out, hopefully, not too difficult. So we'll see how simple it wants to go. Just like we planned. So now that's off. Now we can reach in here, loosen the belt, and then pull our drum out, and then we can reinstall. Okay, I'm going to reach in here, grab my belt, and move it off the idler pulley and motor pulley. Now I should be able to remove my drum. Just like that. Now we can get our new drum and reinstall everything. Alright, I already placed the belt just around the drum. I do it this way, I find it's easier. That way I don't get it caught on all these other components as I try to feed it through. So it's just sitting in place. I'm going to go ahead and lift this up, slide it back into position, rest it on the rollers on the back, which we have it there now. And then I'm going to go ahead and feed the belt the rest of the way through. I'm going to verify that the belt's not twisted, and then I'm going to go ahead and put it on the motor and idler pulleys. Alright, so I'm going to slide my belt back into position, and then I'm just going to kind of eyeball my belt all the way around. Make sure I don't see that it is twisted in any spot. Then we're going to go ahead and just put it on the motor and idler pulley. And just to make sure it's all okay, I'm just going to go ahead and just turn my drum. It's going to probably make some crazy noises because we have it apart. But easier to do this now than when I already have it put back together. And that just helps me to make sure I get my belt lined up properly as well. Alright, so everything's good there. We can go ahead with our front panel and put that into position. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put my panel in position. To take into account my wiring to get it on the right side of the panel. And then I have to get the rollers underneath the drum. Basically just lift it up and get those slots and those tabs to line up. Trying to do. There's one. And number 2. So got that into position there, and then I'm going to just double check just by reaching underneath or looking underneath that my rollers are in the right position with the drum. So I'm going to go ahead and put my screws in. The clip that ties our lower part in. So we'll go in there, put the clip into our front housing, line up the hole into our blower housing, and zip it in. Alright, now while it's like it is here, before I get too far ahead, I'm actually going to rotate the drum again, make sure that nothing is hitting or coming in contact that shouldn't be. So I'm just going to grab it. Alright, so we made a complete revolution. I didn't hear any abnormal noises. We can go ahead and finish installing this panel. We have our harnesses, our strain reliefs, and then our light switch needs to go up in this area here. Alright, we have our sensor switch, strain relief 1, strain relief 2 right here. And then this wire is going to have to go up into that area there for the repair. So that's together. Now we can go ahead and the little metal bracket at the top, we can reinstall that. So we got our little bracket here. This has to come out. There are little tabs that kind of help hold it in place. Let's make sure we lock them in. Put everything in there, all right. And then we can go ahead and insert the 4 screws which we removed earlier. We have 2 up here in the front. Then we have 2 in the very top. Alright, now that that's done, we can go ahead and proceed and put the front panel with the door on. Alright, so we're going to take our front panel, just going to kind of set it in position here. Now our switch, we have to feed it back up here where these other wires were, which is where we removed it from. So just in the exact same location, just kind of put it in that area so we can pull it out. And there are tabs that the front panel hangs on, which we're going to place it on to hold it in place for us. Alright, so I'm going to start with the top. There's those 3. We have the 4 that we removed from the bottom here. Now we can go back up to the top. We can install our electronics that we removed. Alright, now the wire when we put on our front door panel here for our door switch, we had fed it up. We have to connect that, so I'm going to do that. While this is the part, it'll be a little bit easier. Alright, so that's done. Now we can take our console here. The wires for this we have to feed through a hole in the front. Get this in position and snap it in place. And then there are 2 screws that go into the ends of the electronic panel here. And then there's 1 screw we had removed earlier that ties in the other electronics into the top of this panel here. So we're going to go ahead and put that back in place. And finally is the wiring we disconnected. I'm going to go ahead and just plug it back in together. Alright, so what I'm going to do at this point is go ahead and turn the breaker back on, turn it on, let it run before I put the top on and make sure everything sounds good. Go ahead, turn it on and hit start. No more rubbing like we had before since we replaced that bad drum. So we'll go ahead and we'll stop it, turn the unit off. We have to install the screws here inside the door and inside of our top panel. Alright, so we'll open up our door. Install our 2 screws here that we removed earlier. Okay, now we put on our top panel and put in the last 2 screws. So we take our top panel, set it in position, and then slide it into place. Like that. Take our 2 screws. See if the gods are on our side and we don't drop them. Alright, I got them started. Use my socket to tighten them in. Alright, and there we go. Thank you for watching another quality in-home diagnostic video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com.